welcome those of you just joining us here to Purcell Pavilion at the campus of Notre Dame here in South Bend, Indiana. Tremendous atmosphere. It is sold out for what so far is the premier women's game on the college schedule. I'm Dave O'Brien alongside Doris Burke. Doris, you like the start so far? Pretty well played in the early going. These are two terrific offenses.
Yeah, two of the top 3 scoring teams in the country. The Irish out in front, number 1. They've been triple digits, it feels like, every single one of their games. And we've got 2 of the best players in the country. In fact, 2 of our 3 to see, and Breanna Stewart and Jewell Loyd.
Well, 2 of the very best, and you expect the Stars to come out in a game of this magnitude. They're going to vie for National Player of the Year, both of them.
Yeah, no question about it. Breanna Stewart has been the Final Four MVP in both her freshman and sophomore season. Such a versatile, gifted athlete. On the offensive end, there is very little she can't do. Yes, shoot the 3. Yes, go off the dribble drive. She's got a tremendous reach on the defensive end. And Jewell Loyd, what a gifted athlete. The mid-range is special. In transition, she's dangerous. She can stretch you with the 3 ball. She can go off the dribble. And today, with Moriah Jefferson checking her, I would expect those last 2 plays, we see a lot of that, because Moriah Jefferson is an excellent defender. She is much shorter than Jewell Loyd.
The series history is fascinating. UConn has won the last 2 in the Final Four and the national championship, and Notre Dame won 7 of the previous 8. The last time they met here, it was one of the great games we've seen lately. It went 3 overtimes in March of 13. That was for the Big East championship.
You know, it strikes me about Notre Dame, especially in the last several years. We think about Connecticut, they lose great players and they simply fill in the gaps with more All-Americans. To me, that's exactly what Muffet McGraw has done over the last several years. Think about some of the losses she has had to endure. Skylar Diggins, no one expected them to get to a national championship game after losing Skylar Diggins. They did just that.
UConn has the ball here, tied 10-10, in for Stewart, the reigning player of the year. And here's Morgan Tuck, the 6'2 sophomore, who has emerged as a giant piece for Gino Auriemma. 9 on the shot clock for the Huskies. Jefferson down the lane, a little point guard, that didn't touch anything. Allen, outstanding point guard for Notre Dame. She'll fire up a 3 and knock that down. That's not a huge part of their attack, but they're really good at it.
This is the challenge for this young woman. A year ago, Natalie Achonwa needed the ball. Jewell Loyd needed the ball. McBride needed the ball. Now they need Allen to assert herself.
Stewart to answer. A little bit too strong, and back over to Notre Dame. They want to run. The bounce for Loyd, averaging 21 a game, her 3. Just like that, the Irish by 6. Skylar Diggins loves it. She's in the house today.
Transition defense for Connecticut will be crucial. The Irish change ends of the floor very quickly.
Well, so far, Kalina Mosqueda-Lewis has been a 0 factor. Another turnover by UConn. Allen in transition, back to Loyd. Can't connect, and a foul on the play. And it'll go against Moriah Jefferson.
We talked about Notre Dame, upward of 90 points per game. In transition, just looking at multiple options. Nobody stays with Lindsey Allen. She understands the challenge from her head coach is to go ahead and be aggressive. Jewell Loyd, the push pass to Jewell Loyd to get her that wide open in transition. So often, Dave, it's the first pass made that dictates whether or not you have success in the open floor.
And Notre Dame loves that play.
Yes.
With her in the open floor. 17-10. Loyd coming off a terrific game against Maryland on Wednesday. 27 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. So she was all over the stat sheet.
They rely heavily on her, and I think for both programs, it's a matter right now of defining your strengths, forging identities, identifying leadership. If you're Connecticut, you need 2 things today. You need defense and you need toughness. Let's see if they've got it.
Mosqueda-Lewis off target on her first attempt of the day. She had been a complete non-factor. That one almost got to Loyd. Tipped out of play by Kalina Mosqueda-Lewis, who quickly hustled and deflected it out of play. Notre Dame coming in 8-0. They whipped up on top 20 Maryland on Wednesday, 92-72.
And that's with Turner being lost for the game in the first several minutes. And I went to Mohegan Sun to watch Notre Dame play Kansas. This young woman is a big-time talent. You said that she's averaging 15 points and I don't think she's figured it out at all on the offensive end yet.
Out with an injured shoulder. Will not play today, obviously, not dressed. 8-0 run here, but a turnover by the Irish. Averaging 13 points a game. But so far, those numbers, the loss of those numbers, has not hurt Notre Dame.
No question. This is a player who just sprints the floor end to end, runs as well as any big player in the country.
Stewart, baseline. No. She thought she was fouled on the way there. She thought there was contact, but no whistle.
She had a wide open layup. I'm surprised she missed that.
Westbell just off the bench. Can't drain that, but Catherine Westbell, 6'2" freshman, has been a key reserve for Muffin McGraw. She'll play a lot of minutes today. Stewart demanding that in the double team. She draws the foul. That'll go against Westbell.
And Westbell drew the assignment of Brianna Stewart. I love this kid. She checks into the ballgame. Not easy as a freshman. Come off the bench and make an immediate impact. What I noticed about her is she always seems to be around the ball.
6'2", out of Kettering, Ohio. They love her. Underneath, quick strike there by Morgan Tuck.
Got to find a way to generate some easy baskets. If you're UConn, nice little execution, duck in by Morgan Tuck.
Well, the tone of a UConn Notre Dame matchup is just different than anything else, isn't it? Westbell can't get in.
Level of intensity that comes with this matchup.
Energy, athleticism, so much there. Hard drive by Chong, and she'll draw the foul. Chong will go to the line, fouled by Lindsay Allen, who picks up her first personal.
This is why she's in the ball game. Sanaya Chong is a good offensive player. She's got great quickness with the ball. In fact, Gina Oriama told me early on in the preseason when I went up to practice that she is actually faster with the ball than Mariah Jefferson.
No kidding.
That surprised me.
Making the first one. She started the first 2 games of the season, but after the Stanford game, despite scoring 20, she was relegated to the bench. She'll play a ton of minutes, but she's now coming off the bench.
And it's all about her defense. That's something that she's going to have to come along with as she develops over the course of her career. The offensive end is fine. She shoots it great from deep. She's not afraid to put it on the deck. She's got speed and transition. But they could not handle Stanford's guards. Lily Thompson and Amber Araj tore them up.
Quick release by Mabry, who will shoot it from just about anywhere inside midcourt. She's missed her first couple of threes today. So UConn trailing by 4. They've cut into the lead. Here's Chong. Stewart demanding it down low for 2.
Well, she had to battle. It looked like the pass might have been a second late, but you could tell Stewie wanted the ball on the post up.
Well, look at her intensity. She really got knocked around by a very physical Stanford team. They disrupted her, even though she had a good game. She had something short of a great game. Here's Lloyd. Yes! Another triple.
She is effortless. Jewel Lloyd puts the ball in the basket with great regularity and makes it look easy.
Tuck, strong with that right hand for 2. And she's off to an excellent start in this one.
Of all the players' reactions in the aftermath of the Stanford loss, it was Stewart and Tuck who seemed to be most personally offended by it.
No question. Cable into the game, one of the veterans coming off the bench. It's an unusual bench of seniors and juniors for Muffin McGraw. Here's Mabry again, and there's the 3 that may get her going. She is deadly out there.
Westbell has got a versatile offensive game. Not afraid to mix it up. She's got the perfect frame for it, but she also has some things on the offensive end.
Just looking inside. Here's Tuck straight on. Too strong. Rebound battle to Notre Dame and Madison Cable. Lloyd feeding Mabry. Too strong there. Rebound picked off by Cable. Right back up with no. And the follow, and it'll be Lloyd at the line. Or Markeisha Wright heading to the line. And fouled on that play by Brianna Stewart.
The Irish are in control early, thanks in large part to one of the best players in the country, Jewel Lloyd, working.
The 2014 Jimmy V Classic is presented by Corona, who invites you to find your beach.
Well, in support of the Jimmy V Foundation and its mission, players from both of these teams recently took time to visit cancer patients at the Connecticut Children's Medical Center and Memorial Hospital in South Bend, Indiana. It's a big, big week for us, of course, and to donate to the V Foundation for cancer research, log on to www.jimmyv.org or call 1-800-4JIMMY-V. 100% of all of your donations go directly to fight cancer.
Extraordinarily proud of our colleague Dick Vitale and how hard he has worked for so very long to eradicate cancer.
Now Notre Dame 4 out of 8 beyond the three-point line. UConn is yet to hit one. It'll be Wright at the line. Markeisha Wright in as a starter, a senior who doesn't typically start, plays about 15 minutes a game, but with Turner out, she got the nod today.
Yeah, think about her in the semifinals against Maryland last year. 12 points, 9 rebounds, big reason why they were able to advance to play UConn in the national championship. Something special to me, Dave, about a player who you're never sure how much you're going to be playing on a particular night, but you're ready nonetheless, and that's Markeisha Wright.
Tuck to drive past Wright, who blocked, and there's an offensive foul. That'll be a charge on UConn. Morgan Tuck with the personal.
Rotation there by Cable. In time. Nicely done.
Well, Cable a senior, Wright a senior, Huffman a junior, all coming off the bench. That's a traveling violation on the baseline. It'll go back over to the Huskies. Notre Dame on top 25-18.
The Irish have 9 field goals, 7 assists on those 9 field goals. It's an unselfish team. It's a solid passing team. It's a team that's got multiple options.
UConn coming in 5-1. Mosqueda Lewis. The floater won't drop, and a foul. Stokes is into the game and had that rebound knocked away and hit. The Jimmy V Classic is back on ESPN Live from Madison Square Garden. First, it's Villanova and Illinois. Indiana takes on Louisville. The 20th anniversary celebration for legendary head coach Jim Valvano. Jimmy V Classic, Tuesday at 7 on ESPN.
Indiana fresh off that win in the ACC Big Ten Challenge. Louisville under Rick Pitino, undefeated yet again, at least through the early part of the year.
How about Michigan losing today?
NJIT.
New Jersey Institute of Technology, we kid you not. Thrown away, and Lloyd picks it off. Up ahead for Allen. She'll drive it. Can't connect. Stokes with the rebound. That'll trigger a fast break now for the Huskies. Jefferson wants to go quickly. And no whistle on that play. Lloyd open for a 3.
See, Jewel Lloyd is a star that's hard to guard, but she's unselfish. She's going to give it up, sometimes to get it back for herself, sometimes to make a play for her teammates.
Already Jewel Lloyd with 15 points. Well, Jewel Lloyd at times has not been all that great against UConn, but she has been today.
Yeah, I think she's probably aware of that. She's directing traffic here. She tells the freshman Westbelt, move over, I will find you. And her teammate gets an easy 3. And then in transition, that last play, pass to the corner, get it back, make your own 3.
Mosqueda Lewis, a long rainbow 3. So she's starting to get into the game a little bit. She comes in averaging at 18 points a game. She's hitting 61.5% beyond the three-point line. That's ridiculous.
24 of 39. One of the great shooters ever. I think, in fact, Gino Auriemma has said he hasn't seen a better shooter on any level.
Reimer turns around, but it's not there. The rebound is tapped and controlled by Huffman.
Well, she has just carved out a nice role for herself, Huffman.
Before the shot, no basket there. A foul against UConn and Mosqueda Lewis. That'll be number 2 on Kalina with 9:26 to go before halftime.
I think this is a 2-part equation here. Notre Dame is very good on the offensive end. And UConn, this will not be its best defensive team in its history. They're going to have to figure things out on that end.
Lloyd, quick shot. That didn't touch a thing. Caught. That one won't go by Cable. Stokes with the rebound.
She's a huge Kobe Bryant fan. That was a Kobe Bryant shot right there.
Gianna's Kobe on her sneakers. In close, and two more for Morgan Tuck, who is proving a lot to handle for the Irish in the paint.
Yeah, I love Morgan Tuck. Gino's talked about her versatility. They don't have great depth yet, and maybe it's something that will develop for UConn over the course of the year. In the meantime, when you have somebody as versatile as Morgan Tuck, and you can move her between positions, the 3 and 4 spot, it's like having a couple of different players.
28-23, Notre Dame looking very comfortable. Again, 2 fouls on one of the UConn stars, Kalina Mosqueda-Lewis, who averages 18 points, preseason All-American. Let's see if that hampers her at all. Stewart catches and shoots. Tapped out by UConn off Kalina Mosqueda-Lewis. We talked about Jewel Lloyd and Kobe.
So she puts Mamba mentality. Of course, Kobe noticed the Black Mamba. That last quick trigger jump shot with the defender trailing was very much a Kobe jump shot.
Lloyd with a turn and fire, and it rattles out. Boy, it was in the cylinder. She got a little unlucky there. Stewart wants the paint. Mosqueda-Lewis lets fly. A rare miss for her, but a whistle underneath and a foul against the Fighting Irish. Stops the clock with 8:13 to go in the first half. The building sold out here at Purcell Pavilion. Doris and I have been here in South Bend being taken very good care of all week by the great folks at Notre Dame. We were here for Wednesday's men's game, which Notre Dame won in a thriller overtime over Michigan State.
We wouldn't mind an overtime today.
Not at all. Not at all. Last time they played here, it went 3 overtimes. Stewart again. Yes.
So one of the things you try to do is get your best player as many shots as possible. So the last 2 possessions, Gino ran a stagger screen. Stewie comes up, misses that jump shot. Another multiple screen set, and she makes the second. And now UConn drops into a zone.
Reimer gave up the dribble. Is right at the foul line. Allen off the fake. Drives the paint. Stokes with another rebound. She's been terrific on the glass early. Nurse, the freshman, to drive it and draws the foul. Very aggressive offensive play. 7:32 to go. First half of one of the most intense rivalries in college basketball. UConn and Notre Dame at it again.
Jim Valvano's like, you know, Don Quixote. He's willing to fight. His name is still out there fighting, and we're all part of his army. And I'm honored to be associated with it.
It's a great line by Gino Auriemma. But Jim Valvano, the Don Quixote, and still out there fighting. 28-25, Notre Dame with a 3-point lead.
I think Jim Valvano, his legacy will be about the fight against cancer, but that's a national champion, a husband and a father, a brother, remembered by an awful lot of people.
Again, Nurse at the line. Foul before the break by Hannah Huffman. Nurse hit 64%, just a freshman out of Hamilton, Ontario. Had a 22-point game against Creighton. Back up and in for 2 by Stokes, who's made a pretty good impact since coming off the bench.
She's got to use that frame, her athletic ability, and her length to contribute on the backboards, be a rim protector.
So tied at 28.
And Kia Nurse is face guarding Jewel Lloyd. Gino has seen enough 15 points in the first half already, so let's try to deny her touches.
Another freshman in the game for Muffin McGraw. Michael Johnson out of Huntington, West Virginia. Shot clock winding down, so Lloyd had to force it up there. So they didn't get the offense in gear on that occasion. Nurse on a hard drive. Tough bank, and she got it to go. Boy, that was a very difficult angle. And Muffin McGraw asks for a timeout. She's not happy.
Kia Nurse plays beyond her years. This is a player who has already been with the Canadian national team, so has played with and against older players.
So UConn jumps into the lead under 7 minutes to go in the half. And in a crucial Big 12 matchup, the Wildcats battle the Bears with a critical playoff implication on the line ESPN College Football. That is number 9 Kansas State against number 6 Baylor tonight at 7:45 Eastern on ESPN.
Well, you think Mr. Mariota won the Heisman Trophy with his performance last night?
He had 5 touchdowns, responsible for 5 last night.
Got to believe he's in pretty good shape.
I think he's in good shape.
Yeah.
Great win for them. UConn with a 2-point lead. Notre Dame undefeated at 8-0. The Huskies, of course, 5-1. Saw their 47-game win streak come to an end in the second game of the season. A 2-point loss in overtime at Stanford. Lloyd working on a 15-point half. Here's Johnson from the corner, and that didn't touch anything. So she airmailed that. And now UConn looking for a little bit of an advantage. Here's Stewart on a difficult catch, tips in her own miss.
Now,
tried to tip it in, missed it.
Yeah, it was good identification by her teammate because Michael Johnson was checking her. Stewart wanted it badly. I'm surprised. That's a couple chippies she's missed.
No foul there. It's a 14-0 run for UConn. Mosqueda Lewis with a really nice pass, and that's going to be 2 for Morgan Tuck.
So defense turning into transition offense, and the Connecticut Huskies now by 4.
32-28. Reimer facing up, but no, too strong.
1 and done. Now, through the early part of the game, the Irish were getting multiple looks on the offensive end of the floor. Better job on the defensive backboards. Are going to get tough for an offensive foul, though.
So Tuck with the personal. 5:36 remaining in the half.
Kia Nurse is going to try to make the pass inside. She's shocked by the play. We're actually looking at the interior, trying to see the play where Tuck gets called for the offensive foul.
So now the Irish suddenly looking for an answer. They're number 2 in the poll. UConn comes in number 3. Right back for Lloyd. And she has cooled off a little bit.
Really good job. Now, see, Nurse is doing a great job, but her teammates have got to help her with Lloyd. Stokes does a good job on the challenge.
Stewart lets fly, too strong. Tuck had the rebound batted out of her hand, and it's going to be off of her in the end with 5:09 to go in the half.
Well, she's been around the ball, though, hasn't she, Morgan Tuck? She's contributed in every phase. Scoring, rebounding, assisting.
Well, right now, the 2 best players on the floor for UConn are certainly Tuck and Nurse.
Yep.
And not necessarily Mosqueda Lewis and Stewart. Allen from 3. Boy, they let her open all day to hit that shot, but she missed it. And now Nurse will set up the offense for Gino Auriemma. Right now, they have the advantage, and they have the head of steam. Tuck again. Out of a double team. Stewart's in the corner. Here's Stokes on the baseline. Back to Tuck. They're going to her time and time again. Reimer thrown away right into the hands of Kalina Mosqueda Lewis. Cable got back defensively, but she'll attack anyway and lay it in.
Good little change of pace, and Muffet McGraw wants another timeout.
That was a senior play to go in strong with that right hand, and another timeout for Notre Dame as UConn has grabbed all the momentum.
Well, the points in the paint differential is significant. It feels like all of UConn's baskets are coming inside. That's why they've got a 6-point lead.
Steve Weissman with you in studio. Coming up on the Mazda Halftime Report, we get deeper into this big rivalry between UConn and Notre Dame, from coaches to players, how last season took it to a whole nother level. But neither team is number 1 right now. That title belongs to South Carolina. Kara Lawson here to break down their big matchup with Duke tomorrow. For now, back to South Bend. Dave Dorks.
Well, look forward to Kara breaking that one down. Right now, it's UConn surging 34-28. Morgan Tuck is sitting right now. So much has gone through her in the first half.
Boy, I think her imprint is all over this game. She got 10 points, 3 boards, a couple of assists, a block, a steal. What way hasn't she impacted the game?
She's earned a breather. Allen tried to sneak that pass inside. Shot clock down to 12.
A mismatch in there.
Reimer got it with the left hand.
Good identification. Gabby Williams checks in the game. They go right at her.
Gabby Williams wears number 15 for the Huskies, just a freshman. Very lively crowd here at Purcell Pavilion. as you might expect. And that foul will go against UConn before the shot by Kalina Mosqueda-Lewis.
Some turnovers with some illegal screens, a charge. That's the 7th by UConn.
On Stokes. 3:36 before the break.
Well, I'm looking forward to tomorrow. I thought I was doing some Christmas shopping. Kentucky, Louisville will battle, and Carroll will break down Duke, South Carolina. Rebecca Lobo, Pam Ward will be on the call. They will entertain us tomorrow
The
afternoon.
U.S. economy would like you to continue with those plans, but get the game in at some point.
Yeah.
Right back to Reimer. She'll shoot the 16-footer.
What a job Kia Nurse has done on the defensive end. It had been a while since Jewel Lloyd has scored.
Let's go back to the 12:32 mark.
Yeah, give some credit to UConn on the defensive end. I do not think they have got great individual defensive pieces. This is about team.
Nurse with a tough drive draws the foul. She'll be at the line. Fouled by Reimer. Jimmy V Classic back on ESPN, live from Madison Square Garden. First, it's Villanova in Illinois, and then Indiana against Louisville. 20th anniversary celebration for the legendary head coach Jim Valvano, the Jimmy V Classic.
Well, Villanova is known as Guard U. Jay Wright has coached some outstanding players. Think about Kyle Lowry and the job he's doing in Toronto right now on the NBA level.
Nurse with another one coming. Kalina Mosqueda-Lewis to the bench. She's had an up and down half. Nurse has 7.
She has 7 while guarding Jewel Lloyd. And face guarding her for good stretches of this half, trying to prevent the catch.
Can't hit at the line, though. Lead still at 4.
UConn goes back to Mariah Jefferson now on Lloyd.
See if the Irish can get Lloyd going again, because somebody's turned off the faucet here. Right back for Allen. Lloyd coming through the lane. She's moving all the time. She never stops. But the shot clock's down to 4. Better get a shot in the air. Hoffman, that'll roll away. Stewart with a big rebound. Jefferson trying to find underneath. She tried to look for Nurse, batted right to Stokes, and UConn get a little bit lucky.
With UConn taking Jewel Lloyd out of the second half of this first half, one of the things that has to be identified for the Irish is, who else are you relying on to get buckets in this level of game?
That's certainly where the loss of Breonna Turner might be felt, because she averages 13. Stokes with a stuff. Nurse with it. A one-person break now. Stolen away by Allen. She knocked it away, completely denying what would have been a layup. The next game's up at Dandy, Zagat in Arizona. And on the women's side, South Carolina and Duke on Sunday at 1.
I'll tell you, we're not supposed to root, but I don't call the NCAA Men's Championship. I'd love to see Mark Few get to that Final Four for the first time.
No, he's so deserving. He's done an incredible job there with Gonzaga. Stokes mishandled the pass, batted away. Here's Allen. Mabry lets fly. Boy, she has been cold in the first half. Back to her. Allen to the paint. The bank shot not there. UConn by 6. Stewart on the baseline. Short jumper for 2.
Yeah, really good pull-up. Good decision. Defender was sitting in the paint. Crowd going to try to get the Irish a little momentum here going to half.
Well, they're playing with so much energy and vitality, but then Lloyd stopped scoring, and their offense is stalled.
Well, you know, we talked in the Stanford game about how much UConn missed Stephanie Dolson. Another tough pull-up jumper. What a job those two guards have done for UConn, checking Jewel Lloyd. You have to identify the new roles to be established on either side.
Stokes, nice give underneath. A quick dish there. Gabby Williams converts, and now the lead is the biggest of the half.
Well, it's extraordinary to me, the number of points that UConn is getting in the paint. And Muffet McGraw has got to address the defensive end and how easily they're scoring.
Leading by 10. Final seconds of the half, and Stokes a whistle on the play. Gino Oriema thought for sure that was a clean block. I'm positive Kia Stokes thought it was a clean block.
Wow. I mean, this is one of the best shot blockers. You look at the history of this young woman's career. Blocks per minute is extraordinary. What'd you think there?
I thought there was actually contact before.
I would love to see it again.
Yep.
Okay, and here's one thing they tell the guys. If you go straight up, does she go straight up?
Yeah, who created the contact?
Yes.
Yep.
I don't necessarily mind the whistle. I just, one thing you got to be careful about is when you have a great shot blocker, let the play develop, and you can hesitate with the whistle for one moment.
Well, Lloyd went to the line, knocked him down, 8-point game. UConn holding for a final shot before halftime, and Jefferson tried to save it but couldn't.
The last two turnovers have got to be maddening to Gino Auriemma. Stokes doesn't handle a pass cleanly, and a rushed play there. Now think about this. The last two losses Connecticut has had in this particular gym, 30-plus turnovers in the triple overtime, 25-plus in the single overtime. You don't win on the road, turn it over like that.
Here's Allen trying to get a shot up here. It's off to Lloyd in front of the horn, but she can't hit it. And that's how the first half comes to an end. UConn surging into an 8-point lead at the break, 40-32.
Just an impressive effort, an impressive job running offense to get easy points. Look at the run. Wow.
22-4 for the Huskies. As we go to Steve Weissman and Kara Lawson back in the studio with the Mazda halftime report.
All right, thanks, OB. Back here in the studio, this is the Mazda halftime report. D1 as Michigan goes down. Welcome into our studios alongside the Tennessee All-American Kara Lawson, Steve Weissman with you here. A tale of two halves, Kara, in this ball game where it was all Notre Dame to start, and then UConn just went on that massive 22-4 run.
Did you just drop parabola in the highlight?
I did.
Okay.
Geometry for you.
It was an impressive defensive performance. I think when you look at Connecticut, and Jewel Lloyd, as you said, Steve, did get off to such a hot start. What this Connecticut team is having to learn is that they can have a couple mediocre individual defenders, but as a team defensively, if they can understand the weaknesses of the players they're playing with, just like you do on the offensive end, then you can get stops. They really locked in on Jewel Lloyd, and Notre Dame's offense was one-trick pony in the first half. It was all Jewel Lloyd, and no one else was able to make shots. They've got to get better movement, but players like Mabry, players like Cable, they're going to have to knock some shots down. Certainly Miss Turner, the freshman who's out with the shoulder injury. She could have made a difference, especially with the points in the paint for UConn. Absolutely.
We've got all three of our players to see in this matchup, one of those being Notre Dame's Jewel Lloyd. She made more buckets in the first 10 minutes of this first half than she did the entire NCAA title game, Kara. How does she get back into the mix?
I think if you're Jewel Lloyd, what was successful for Notre Dame early on was the fact that they were running off of misses. They were stopping UConn. That's your best job in transition, or the easiest way to get it. Lindsey Allen passing the basketball ahead, and Jewel Lloyd able to get some clean looks. It's going to be tough in the half court. It's going to be tough because they're face guarding Jewel Lloyd now, and the quality of looks that she's getting, they're just not as high as they were early on. For UConn, it started with their defense. For Notre Dame to get back and get Jewel Lloyd quality looks, it's going to start with their defense in the second half.
All right, an 8-point lead right now as you take a look. 15 points. She did add a couple of free throws late in the half for Jewel Lloyd, as she is the only effort for Notre Dame at this point. Much more on this rivalry coming up, though. The coaches, Gino, Muffet, they say their dislike for each other isn't as high as it was last year, but, well, we shall see. What they have done in last year's national title game, we'll revisit that and see what you think about the biggest rivalry in women's hoops right now.
Welcome back to the Mazda halftime report.
Steve Weissman, Kara Lawson back with you. And how about Jewel Lloyd early on?
Just in her comfort zone, her ability to elevate, rise, and fire makes her such a special offensive player.
She's got 17 to lead all scorers at the half right now. Her team, though, down 8. Now, the two coaches in this rivalry have had more than their share of success. Both Gino Auriemma and Muffet McGraw have won more than 70% of their games as college head coaches, each ranked among the 8 winningest head coaches in Division I women's hoops. They both reflect on this big-time rivalry.
It's over. Notre Dame has done it. They have beaten UConn 90-75. Probably the biggest win in the history of the Notre Dame program.
You know, I don't think it's a rivalry until you can win a few games. So I don't know that I could look at that, even that first win, and say maybe that was when it began. But, you know, that was a big moment for us. They were #1 the first time we beat them in 2001. But I think sustaining the ability to win is what makes it more of a rivalry. And, you know, over the past few years, I think it's been a lot more competitive than it was for the last 10 years.
Both of the teams have been very open, and certainly the head coaches have, about their dislike for one another.
The rivalry has gone a little away from the civility that it was when we were in the league together.
You know, this is a function of women's basketball. Sometimes we act like girls, like we're supposed to go to dinner every night. You know, we're supposed to play each other, try to beat each other's brains in, and then we're supposed to get together afterwards and go have a bottle of wine. That's not going to happen.
What do you think it would take to bring the civility back to the rivalry?
I think we're past that point.
I was on a radio show at the Final Four and asking me about the feud and the rivalry and this and that, and I just said, that's two people from Philadelphia having a conversation and nothing more.
The only thing similar in our backgrounds is we grew up in the same area.
Sharing those Philly roots, I think, is about the end of our personality commonalities.
It's not a good idea. You should never take Coach on, because Coach is going to sleep good at night no matter what. He's going to sleep really good. You're not. You're going to be like, oh, man, I shouldn't have said that.
UConn in command.
You're just dominant right now.
I don't have any energy for that crap. You know, when I was Muffet's age, I used to love that stuff. I'm too old for that now. Just all kisses and roses. Lovey-dovey. Barney, Mr. Rogers, I love you, you love me, we all love everybody. That's the new me.
Kisses and roses, Barney? I don't think so. You've been a part of big-time rivalries. Tennessee, of course, going up against Gino and company. What do you make of this Muffet-McGraw, Gino Auriemma rivalry?
They don't like each other, and the programs don't like each other, and the players don't like each other, and that's okay. I think this has evolved into the premier rivalry in women's basketball because of Notre Dame's ability to beat UConn over the last few years. And I think it's been great for the sport. I think it's been great for those of us that cover it. And I look forward to many more meetings and many more sound bites from both of them.
Maybe another NCAA final. Who knows between these two? Well, you can follow Connecticut All Access, the Gino Auriemma Project on ESPNW all year.
We welcome you back to the Jimmy V Women's Classic, presented by Corona. It's part of Jimmy V Week for Cancer Research on ESPN. We continue our commitment to the V Foundation and Jim Valvano's dream to defeat cancer. Welcome back to Notre Dame, ready for the second half. At the break, UConn surging to an 8-point lead over Notre Dame. Jewel Lloyd, the star for the Irish. 15 quick points, then cooled off. What did the Huskies do to her?
Well, I thought Kia Nurse and Mariah Jefferson did a great job just battling and some team defense around them, because Jewel Lloyd is as gifted an athlete and combines that with great basketball skill. A very versatile offensive game. Out in transition, she can stretch it from deep. She sprints right to the three-point line. Then she recognizes Jefferson on her, so they run her down to the post and let her take advantage of the size mismatch. But you just keep battling. Jefferson and Nurse are two of their better defenders, along with Stokes. That was a little message like, okay, you're going to earn them this time. Tough jumper. I just thought that was a poor shot. Better job. The other thing on the offensive end for Connecticut, they took full advantage of the freshman being out. Look at the points in the paint differential. Brianna Turner not in there, the 6'3" freshman, and they get 28 inside.
So Morgan Tuck winds up with 10 points in the first half. Stewart with 8 points and 4 rebounds. But if I had said to you in the first half UConn was going to go 1 for 9 from 3 and turn it over 10 times, you would have said they're down 8 at half.
Correct. That's a great point.
Tuck off her leg and out of play. So an awkward start to begin the second half for the Huskies, who defeated Notre Dame in last year's national championship game, 79-58. Number 9 for Gino Auriemma, who has never lost in a national championship. Tuck battling and wins that one. Here's Jefferson, the speedy point guard, up against Reimer. Man can't connect.
One point Kara made at the half that I thought was crucial. She talked about early in the game when Notre Dame had the lead. Tough drive. When Notre Dame had the lead, they were running off Connecticut's misses. And once Connecticut started to make shots, make them with high efficiency, you take it out of the net. Nice. Another case in point right there, right? So that takes your transition game away because you're taking it out of the net, Dave. And then you have to go against UConn's defense, which has had a chance to dig in.
Brianna Turner out of the game, not playing, the 6'3" freshman for Notre Dame. A whistle here. Didn't start today, unable to go. How much of that has influenced what we have seen from Morgan Tuck today?
Yeah, I mean, certainly without her length and athleticism and presence at the rim, things are going to be easier for UConn to score inside. The points in the paint differential has been incredible to this point.
Jefferson picks up her second foul. Just getting started here in the second half in front of a packed house.
Now, you tell me, Dave, you know, it's early December. If you're Muppet, do you sit your prize freshman at this point?
Up and in for two. It depends on her health. And it didn't look like that big a deal when she got hurt the other night against Maryland. It must be a bigger deal.
Yeah, you know, it was a pile up early in the basketball game. Looks like somebody falls on top of her.
Jefferson lets fly, but too strong. Tuck really scrapping for a rebound. She got it back. Outside to Kalina Mosqueda-Lewis. Tuck again, and two, and she'll go to the line. Fouled by Reimer.
12 points, and a lot of it on this kind of play. And Morgan Tuck is a smart basketball player. You could see why Gina was so disappointed last January when she elected to have surgery. How strong a drive. Doesn't even have a great angle. She's going up against Reimer, who's a big frame, strong girl up top.
Who just picked up her third foul.
Yeah, and she just is going right at her.
Reimer has to go to the bench. Tuck a little short with the free throw. Huffman tried to save it and did. So 3 fouls, Reimer to the bench, and at 6'3", that's a big loss, especially the way number 3 is playing. That's another block by Tuck, and she's having a fantastic game. Jefferson to penetrate. Little out of control, throw it away to Lloyd.
They have had some inexplicable turnovers.
No question, Lloyd, maybe another one right there, and indeed it is. And on the line, it's going to be a turnover here by Kia Nurse. So a flurry of turnovers in the opening minutes of the second half.
Walking the tightrope over here, trying to stay in bounds if you're Kia Nurse. Tippy toes. Oh, yeah, she touches the end line.
Battle for that. Kalina Mosqueda-Lewis comes away. Nice fake and knocks in 2 points. That was a terrific little look away.
Yeah, really nicely done.
So UConn with their biggest lead today, up by 12. Lloyd to answer, but no, and she is stone cold here.
Michaela Mabry has got to make her presence felt. You came on the broadcast talking about there's a nice pass.
Tuck with a miss. Stewart with another miss. And a foul underneath against the Irish.
Michaela Mabry was 0 for 5 from the first half. You talked about her. She's one of the outstanding shooters in the country. We talked about everybody's got to take a step up in the absence of what they lost. Chanwa and McBride. Eyes on Mabry.
Westbeld with the foul, and it's all turned in UConn's favor here at Notre Dame. 17-16 to go.
Today's another battle. Sometimes I'm winning, sometimes I won't admit that I'm losing, but it's a struggle. It's a constant struggle. Today I want to keep living and keep cherishing the moment.
Diagnosed a year ago, Lauryn Hill's quest to play college has been an inspiration. Mount St. Joe's first game is moved to November 2nd with the hope she'd be able to play in front of more than 10,000 fans at Xavier. She made layups for the first and last baskets of that game. Lauryn Hill was able to attend Mount St. Joe's game on Wednesday night. ESPN and the V Foundation are making a $100,000 donation in honor of Lauryn Hill to fund a research grant toward pediatric brain cancer. We understand that Lauryn had a very, very tough day yesterday.
Lauryn Hill, the word losing shouldn't come out of your mouth, kid, because you are as far from that as you can possibly be, Dave O'Brien.
Now Stewart at the line here with 17-16 to go. And UConn opening up a 14-point lead.
I said this on our NBA Countdown show a couple Wednesdays ago. Think about number 22s, right? Andrew Toney was one of my personal favorites. Clyde the Glide Drexler. That first left-handed layup she put down in that basketball game, that's as good as it got from a number 22.
Westbell up top. Notre Dame needs an answer. Shot clock's down to 5. Huffman should have shot it. Gave it away instead. A scrap for that. 1 second on the shot clock. Notre Dame will have the ball.
Great hustle. Just love to see kids get after it like that. And you put size on the inbounder, Brianna Stewart, to try to impede the vision of Westbell.
Got to heave it. Blocked partially there by Nurse. And so UConn will have it.
Just keep a look at that number. This is the highest scoring team in the country, Notre Dame. 34 points on the board. We're just about 3+ minutes into this half.
Well, please help us beat cancer. The V Foundation awards 100% of direct donations. Log on to www.jimmyv.org. You can do that right now or call 1-800-4JIMMY-V to donate. Operators are standing by. Tuck again inside. What a game she's had. 16. 8 out of 12 shooting for Morgan Tuck.
You just hope that she stays healthy. There's no restrictions. She can practice. Doesn't have to worry one day to the next. Can I go? Can I practice? Is my knee going to let me?
Came in averaging 13 a game. She's already exceeded that. Westbell lost the handle on it. Down for it, Jefferson. Tied up on the play, and it'll be Notre Dame ball on the possession arrow. You have to wonder, where is Michaela Mabry? And Jewel Lloyd, well, as we said in the first half, somebody's turned off the faucet. After 15 quick points, she's had a devil of a time scoring, but Mabry, who really is the voice of the team, according to Muffet McGraw, goes to the bench here. She's had an immensely frustrating game. Junior sharpshooter. Here's Lloyd for 2, and maybe starting to get back into the fold.
That's a tough shot, though. I mean, Jefferson does a very good job trying to stay in front. Tuck rotates over and help, challenges the shot, makes her score over the top. That's good defense.
Stewart off the fake, but travels with it. So that came before the shot. Morgan Tuck has been the story, and what a game plan by Gino Auriemma to go through the 6'2 sophomore, not Mosqueda Lewis or Brianna Stewart today, and she has responded. Well, you are watching the ACC on ESPN. Notre Dame has fallen behind UConn here, 50-36 with just over 15 minutes to go. Hey, the unbeaten Seminoles take on the Ramblin' Wreck from Georgia Tech for the ACC Championship tonight at 8 o'clock. Florida State going in number 4. Georgia Tech up to number 11. 8 o'clock Eastern on ABC.
So much conversation amongst our football experts, Brian Griese in particular, talking about this is not a team they should fall behind to, as Florida State has been wanting to do all year long.
Jump shot off the inbounds by Lloyd won't drop. So the Huskies in command of this thing. Look at that run, 32-8. Most of that, of course, in the first half, when they came surging from behind to take the lead at the break by 8. They've expanded on that. Shot clock to 10. Here's Tuck again. Why not, the way she's shooting it? Picked off by Nurse. A difficult rebound on the baseline and draws the foul. She has also had, largely unsung, an outstanding game.
Yeah, no question about it. And well, I think if you're Gino Auriemma, the switches you made in the starting lineup have been crucial. You put Kia Nurse in. She is an outstanding defender, plays beyond her years. Morgan Tuck stretches the defense, allows for a little bit more space for Brianna Stewart. And let's not forget, Kia Stokes has been sensational this afternoon. When she has played, she's dominated the backboards. She stays within her role, blocks shots, does what she's asked to do.
Jefferson Stewart setting a screen. Mosqueda Lewis out of the corner. Jefferson's the open three-point shooter. Can't stick it. They are leaving her open on purpose. She's not able to hit them. Lloyd penetrating. And an offensive foul. Charge against Notre Dame. And Jefferson absorbing that contact.
Coaches talk about sacrificing your body. She did exactly that in this instance. That's one you feel tomorrow morning.
I'll bet. If it continues like this, it's going to be a loss the Irish will feel big time tomorrow morning. And a great win for UConn on the road. Last time they were here, they lost in triple overtime in March of 2013. Nurse from the corner will drill that down.
Think about this. They haven't won in this building since January 8th of 2011. Well, that's about as long a drought as you'll get for this Connecticut program.
Well, this is becoming a typical UConn walkover all of a sudden. With 14 minutes to go, Notre Dame is getting knocked out of the game completely. Lloyd with a drive and a miss. Reimer's in foul trouble.
Okay, great players. What do you try to do? You try to get it all back yourself. And
UConn will have it, by the way.
Yeah, Drew Lloyd trying to do some things here. A couple of drives into traffic. Gets nothing out of it.
Lloyd 5 for 5 out of the gate. She was scalding the nets. 1 for 9 since. Elena Mosqueda-Lewis and a travel.
Boy, Stokes set one heck of a screen. And why the best shooter in the country didn't shoot it. Well, we talked about Stephanie Dolson not being here. Stephanie Dolson was a great screener for UConn. Kia Stokes just got a shot for KML, and instead she turns it over.
UConn's turned it over 15 times. That's very high at this point in the game. But on that topic, Notre Dame very sloppy. They've played that way since halftime, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, from midway through the first half. And give some credit to UConn, because Gino Auriemma has won 9 national championships on the strength of being the best defense in the country in an awful lot of those years. This is not a vintage defensive team for him.
Guess who? Tuck with another rebound, but had it knocked out of her hands. Allen. Finally for Mabry. No, off target again. Just a cold day for her at the wrong time for the Irish. And here's Kia Nurse, the freshman. Very aggressive. And a blocking foul on the baseline. So that'll go against Notre Dame. Personal against Lindsay Allen.
I'd like to see that one again. Dee Cantner was the baseline lead official. Oh, I don't know. I think I might go the other way on that.
Yeah, it looked like she got there.
I thought it was a charge.
So Nurse to the line. Allen heading to the bench with 3 fouls.
And just to get back to our discussion in the first half, I think if I'm Muffet McGraw, I'd probably sit Brianna Turner. Remember, this is a young kid, early in her career. You don't know her pain tolerance. You don't know her confidence level if she's not 100% right physically. And since it is so early, I'd probably err on the side of caution if I were a coach as well.
It sounds like that's exactly what she did. Another whistle here with 12:48 to go.
But you are talking about a player who is 6'3", the Gatorade Athlete of the Year in high school a season ago, already the 2-time ACC Freshman of the Week. Look it, she's averaging 13 points, and when I tell you she hasn't even come close to grasping where her scoring opportunities in the Princeton offense will be. So she's getting 13 with no idea where her best options are.
Second foul on Brianna Stewart. Inbounded for Reimer. Here's Mabry. He's had a very tough sledding today. Great give, and Lloyd makes it. She'll go to the line. So some life from the Irish star, Jewel Lloyd, for a 3-point play, potentially.
The Julie Oop. They just clear the backside. You can see Westbell draws the defender over. Mariah Jefferson. Westbell posting up and drawing the physical contact with Stewart. That little bit of a move to the weak side of the floor draws Stewart and her length.
That brings the crowd to life. They needed that basket desperately. Irish need a bunch more, too. Stokes back into the game. Mosqueda-Lewis, and another whistle. This one away from the basket with 12:23 remaining.
Gino Auriemma was pleading with Eric Bruton for that foul call.
And for Tuck. The pull-up jumper, that didn't touch anything except the backboard, and Westbeld is there to clear it. Lloyd trying to reheat, and she'll be at the line. So maybe that will be how she's determined to go the rest of the way. Drive, drive, drive. Everything will be going to the rack. Fouled by Morgan Tuck. So 2 shots for Lloyd. 3 fouls on Tuck, by the way. Lloyd, an excellent foul shooter at 89%. Preseason All-America.
See the numbers she's put up. This is now 7 times in 9 games that Jewell Lloyd has gone over 20. And aside from some stretches tonight, she makes it look easy.
And 1 of 2. 13-point lead for UConn. Plenty of time left for the Fighting Irish. Stewart looking for Stokes. A foul there on Westbeld. So 11:58 to go in the second half. Morgan Tuck has put on a show for Gino Auriemma. We'll see if the All-America candidate Lloyd can answer. It's 13 for UConn.
Follow up that big upset win with Illinois.
Phoenix rising, Dave.
Okay, guys, thank you very much. Kia Stokes at the line. It needs to be mentioned what she's done on the glass today. Doris, 14 rebounds for Stokes.
There's a lot of questions after her first couple of years about whether or not she'd transfer, maybe go back to Iowa and play. I credit the kid. I mean, didn't get a ton of time over the course of the first couple of years, but it seemed to me that every time UConn needed her to deliver in big moments, whether it was foul trouble, whatever the case may be, Stokes found a way. And there's more on her shoulders this year. And how about the influence she has had backing up the great defense they played on Jewell Lloyd. Just terrific.
Senior out of Marion, Iowa. Fall away by Westbeld, but that won't drop. Tuck for another rebound. It's 8 for her. And how about Connecticut? They have out-rebounded Notre Dame 41-25. Stewart with a catch. She'll be at the line.
Boy, 3 white jerseys. That was not an easy catch. She's got great reach.
No, she's not had a big game with 10 points. Galena Mosqueda-Lewis with 9. But it's really been Stokes and Nurse and Tuck who have shown up in a big, big way, the biggest way for Gino Auriemma.
Well, the other part of that equation, though, is the Irish are obviously going to send a lot of defensive attention. We've seen that with Breanna Stewart. Think about 3 bodies were around her when we saw them play Stanford. So it may not show up in a box score, but Stewart's influence will be significant. I think she's got to be prepared on a nightly basis for incredibly physical play against her.
But she's had some of the best games of her career against Notre Dame in Final Fours, averaging 25 points a game against them in Final Fours of championships. Stolen away by Jefferson on the baseline. Right back by Lloyd. The scoop is in for 2.
Wow.
That cuts the lead to 15. 25 for Lloyd. She just hasn't gotten any help. Galena Mosqueda-Lewis lines it up and drills the 3. You leave her that open, she'll do that all day. Back to 18. 12 points for Galena. 60-42. Westbeld on a high post. Nearly threw it away, Mabry, and then forced that one off the side of the backboard. Westbeld again, bottled up, tried to scoop it up there. Free ball knocked out of play off Lloyd's leg. Well, it's number 1 South Carolina taking on number 9 Duke Sunday at 1. Tiffany Mitchell and Rebecca Greenwell both have had outstanding seasons.
Well, Pam Ward and Rebecca Lobo on the call. They are waiting for word whether Elizabeth Williams from Duke, the outstanding center, will play in that basketball game. She's missed the last couple. And Dawn Staley has methodically built that South Carolina program. I am anxious to watch them in person at some point this year. You and I got to beg onto a game.
Jefferson with a tough drive, denied. Notre Dame hoping to cut in under 10. Here's Lloyd. Jefferson with a free ball in the corner. So now UConn can go up by 20 or more on the road at the home site of their fiercest rival, slapped away from Stewart into the backboard. Shot clock down to 14. Stewart spins. Stokes another rebound. That was her 15th in the game. Allen wants to go in strong. Yes.
Speed is one of her outstanding assets. We saw her get to the rim in the first half, Lindsey Allen. We didn't see her finish with great regularity.
UConn looking pretty darn comfortable right now. Jefferson dribbling through everyone here with 10 to shoot. Baseline tuck to the other side for 2 more.
You wonder how that happens because they're not guarding Kia Stokes. I mean, they're just not guarding her. So the fact that Morgan Tuck could get another basket at the rim with 18 points on great percentage because she spent her afternoon at the rim.
Whistle here. Her career high is 19, so she's 1 under that. But she's doing it at the home of Notre Dame, the number 2 team in the country. Jefferson just picked up the foul. So she will head to the bench with an 8:46 remaining. 4 on Mariah. Lloyd hit the deck, fouled on the play.
I think a reluctant whistle by DeCantner.
On Nurse.
You like that a little bit as an official. Unless it impacted the play, I think she was just going to let that go, but she had to blow the whistle because it impacted possession.
A Nurse should never do any harm. 8:44 to go. Allen will back it out now for the Irish. Stokes came out to guard. And Allen slicing back in for 2. He's showing some offensive life. Well, this crowd is dying to become a part of it. But the Huskies have taken him out for long stanzas of this one. Stokes backdoor cut there. Stewart denied. Shot clock down to 10. Tuck again. Got her own miss. Laid it in. What a game.
How about that persistence? I mean, she was going at Catherine Westbeld. And her ability to stick with it, play through the contact, be the fastest person to the ball. She's earned her own highlight package here today.
20 points, a career high, 9 rebounds in the best game of her career. Lloyd blocked. That was Stokes, one of the best in the business. Taken right back by Cable. Lloyd, Stokes again, and she tears away another rebound. That's at least 16 for her. Crowd didn't like it, that they thought there was all sorts of contact. Stewart is fouled on the other end by Lindsey Allen. UConn with another big lead. They're dominating underneath.
The 2014 Jimmy V Classic is presented by Corona, who invites you to find your beach.
Well, some of the crowd are dancing for Notre Dame, but they're not dancing because of that score. UConn dominating 64-46. The bigs are flat getting it done for the Huskies. Tuck and Stokes.
Well, Morgan Tuck is finally healthy, and look what a healthy Morgan Tuck can do. Off the dribble drive, that's a player with size and skill. Gets post position easily. I mean, she has spent the afternoon at the rim, gives some support on the post defense, on the pick and roll, changes the shot of Lindsey Allen. They have to make the switch. She's capable. She's got good enough feet. And, you know, we came on this game today, right? And we were saying that there were question marks on both sides. Leadership has been discussed, but maybe a lack thereof, or at least the need for development. Who could you count on outside of the best players, Jewel Lloyd and Breanna Stewart, to deliver? Well, for the Connecticut Huskies, there's 2 names right there you can look at and say they've had a huge influence on this game.
Stewart, 12.7 rebounds at the line, makes the first. A comeback not out of the question for Notre Dame, but the secondary options outside of Jewel Lloyd, Reimer and Allen, both are saddled with 4 fouls.
Yeah, and I don't think we can undersell the absence of Brianna Turner, you know, they've played their first 8 games with her as a presence on the defensive end.
Cross court, and Stewart read that. Knocked out a play off Notre Dame. With 7:08 remaining and another sloppy turnover by the Irish. And a 20-point lead for the Huskies. They have taken the air out of Purcell Pavilion.
You know, there's a story on ESPN.com by Graham Hayes today. He's talking a little bit about the rivalry and about some feeling in women's college basketball. Great shooter gets another one off. The rivalries are built when things matter, when an opponent faces off again and again and again. The Irish have had as much success as anyone. I think the next step for Muffet is championships, right?
Sure.
Because in every other aspect, last 3 years, their recruiting is rolling. She's got a chance this year, Muffet, to go to her 5th straight Final Four. Can they start to make some inroads? One national championship to her credit. Can the program take the next step?
Well, they have won 7 out of the last 10 head-to-head against Connecticut, but UConn's won the last 2, and those were in Final Fours when it mattered the most. And Tuck will lose the handle on that with 2 on the shot clock. And 6:08 left in the game, head-to-head since 2009. And no championships over that period for Notre Dame. 4 for UConn.
Muffet McGraw, the most wins as a head coach against Gino Auriemma.
But today, just flat unexpected.
No question.
Even with the loss of Turner. One thing we have to say about Brianna Turner, she is a freshman. And who knew how she was going to react under these circumstances, whether she'd have a great game or not. Lloyd knocks in 2 more. And she has been it today. She's been the show for the Irish, unfortunately for them, with 27. Tuck into the corner for Kalina Mosqueda-Lewis, who's not had to carry a big load today. Tipped by Lloyd. It'll stay on this end.
I'm not sure why you're trying to make that cross-court pass. You've got the lead.
And now they're going to change it. Change their minds, and it'll be UConn ball. I should say Notre Dame ball.
These are the kinds of turnovers that pinch you in games. Think about Connecticut had, what, an 8-point lead underneath this 8-minute timeout against Stanford and still lost that basketball game. I think they felt like they should have won that.
Backdoor cut, Lloyd airborne, draws the foul. 5:20 to go.
This is what you want. You want an opportunity to get this thing closer with no time going off the clock. They've run that backdoor cut with much success.
That'll be 5 on Jefferson, I believe. And so Mariah is going to have to exit. And so it'll be Lloyd to the line. Shooting 2 at 5:20 to go.
Yeah, you could see they've run this to great success. You've got Mariah Jefferson, who gets hung up on the top side of Jewel Lloyd. They have run that on multiple occasions. She's either gotten a basket or she's gotten some free throws out of it. She's also gotten Mariah Jefferson out of the game.
29 for Lloyd. 16-point lead for the Huskies. Nurse got a look at it. Stewart gave up the dribble. Nurse trying to take the baseline, plows in for an offensive foul.
And the turnovers continue to mount. And I said it, the last 2 times UConn has lost here, they've had way too many turnovers. And this will count as one. Nice job by Madison Cable to beat Nurse to the spot. And keep in mind, folks, I know we've been saying it all afternoon, Notre Dame is the #1 scoring team in the country. They are up over 90 points. Can UConn finish this out here against a dangerous team?
Connecticut's turned it over 21 times. And he had a 16-point lead. Lloyd launches. Another rebound for Stokes. That's at least 18.
She's going over 20. We got plenty of time left.
So having one of the great recent rebounding games in UConn history, and doing it against the #2 Notre Dame Fighting Irish in their building. Tuck inside, close, banks in 2 more. 22 points for her.
You know what's fascinating to me? A year ago with Stephanie Dolson and Bria Hartley in the lineup, it didn't strike me that Gino Auriemma had to coach every possession. Reimer can't get it to go. He's coaching a lot today.
Allen with a short jumper, got it.
Watch, see, Gino Auriemma is over there. A year ago, you could enter the ball to Stephanie Dolson. You could get action off of it, and Stephanie inevitably would make the right read or the right screen. Now he's got to manipulate the pieces.
Backdoor cut off of Nurse's fingers.
Another turnover.
Those continue to pile up, but UConn is sailing and maybe toward ending the longest home winning streak active in the country right now. Notre Dame at 34 in a row here at Purcell Pavilion. But right now the Huskies are sailing on top at Notre Dame, 68-52.
It's from Tim, Dave.
Steve, thank you very much. We have just a little over 3 minutes remaining here in South Bend. And Doris Burke, are we seeing a different way for Gino Auriemma to win than might have been expected? And maybe even the way they've won early this season. We're talking about a great game out of Morgan Tuck, a phenomenal rebounding game out of Kia Stokes. You've mentioned the defense of Jefferson and a couple of others. We're talking about defensively, this might not be a great UConn team all season long. They may never get there, but they're getting it from other people than anticipated.
Yeah, and I think it can't be overstated that some of what's been generated from Morgan Tuck is her individual ability. It's some of the defensive attention that they're going to throw in the direction of Mosqueda Lewis and Brianna Stewart. But I've made the point, he's had to coach much more possession-by-possession game than a season ago when he had Hartley and Dolson, who were such integral pieces.
Tuck with 22, a career high, and she's 1 rebound shy of a double-double. Now the Jimmy V Classic is back on ESPN, live from Madison Square Garden. First, Villanova takes on Illinois. Then it's Indiana against Louisville. 20th anniversary celebration for the legendary head coach Jimmy V. The home court of college hoops, ESPN Tuesday. On the entry, here's Stewart leaning in with a left hand. Mosqueda Lewis won that rebound back. Here's Tuck open. Drills it in, a 3-pointer. And a 25-point game. Keeps on getting bigger and bigger for Morgan Tuck. She has been sensational. Lloyd has 29. Off the window, Stewart corrals the rebound. 71-54, very comfy for UConn. All indications were that this was going to be nip and tuck, a hard-fought close game, down to maybe the last couple of possessions. Nurse in the lane, got a great look and knocked it in.
And that was our expectation. I mean, that has been the history. Last year's national championship aside, because of the Chano being out, not that it would have been the differential, but it would have certainly had an impact on the.
Lloyd blocked by Stokes, clean stuff there. She has 3 of those today, and as mentioned, 18 rebounds along with 6 points.
It's a team that had some conversations, Connecticut, once they went on the road and lost to Stanford. Conversation centered on 2 things.
Reimer Stokes gets another block. And not a foul here, but it'll go Notre Dame's way.
Defense and toughness. Do you think that Connecticut showed both of those things today?
Oh, tremendous areas of this one. With 1:47 to go. 9 on the shot clock here for the Irish. And kind of a wild shot there. It's going to be up and over the backboard by Lloyd. A sellout crowd here from Muffin McGraw today. They came ready to cheer and make a lot of noise, and they were able to do it for about half of the first half. When Lloyd was on fire, got 15 quick points. They jumped out to a lead, and then Notre Dame started to miss shots. There's an offensive foul, and more to the point, UConn started to play great defense.
Yeah. Mariah Jefferson, Kia Nurse. absorbed the assignment of Jewell Loyd.
Nurse just picked up her 3rd foul. And it's been a long time since this game has been close.
Sure has.
Shockingly enough.
I'm very anxious to watch Louisville and Kentucky face off tomorrow.
Travel here.
You've got Jeff Walls, who's got 2 outstanding freshmen leading the way in scoring for the Cardinal. But in a rivalry game in state, huge crowd, lots of intensity. You wonder if the older players, someone like Sarah Hammond, doesn't sort of settle the tempo, make sure everybody's calm. And then Duke and South Carolina, and Rebecca Lobo on the call was asking her earlier what kinds of things she was looking for in that basketball game. She said, you know, this is a good road test. Don't let the back-to-back losses by Duke fool you. That is a good Duke team. They've been without Elizabeth Williams. You get the feeling Rebecca is really excited to call that.
Another offensive foul. This will go against UConn with 1:12 to go. The brightest stars for UConn today have been Morgan Tuck with 25 points. It's a career high. She also has 9 rebounds. And Kia Stokes with 18 rebounds. And she's also blocked 4 or 5 shots. Loyd straight on. And that ties her career high with 31 points. But no one has followed her today, Doris. On the Notre Dame side.
Well, Michaela Mabry, as you said, is one of the outstanding shooters. Just couldn't get one to drop. She had a couple of wide open looks that we expect to go down. But I think you're still finding yourself. To be honest with you, I think you're still finding strengths, identifying roles on both sides.
Stewart draws the foul. And so the Huskies, who have dominated the glass today, continue to be relentless. They're going to wind up with a giant rebounding advantage here this afternoon for Gino. And UConn about to go to 6-1. Notre Dame will suffer their first loss. And remember, it wasn't until the national championship last year that one of them lost. That was a battle of perfection until UConn won the title over the Irish, 79-58.
There is a February 9 matchup that is somewhat intriguing.
A little bit, yeah.
UConn, South Carolina.
We are really looking forward to seeing that one. Stewart with 14 and 8. Our stars today, Loyd with 31 points to tie a career high. Tuck is out of the game, Morgan Tuck. And deserving those high fives and a big smile on her face. What an afternoon for Morgan. The 6'2 sophomore out of Bolingbroke, Illinois.
Just so happy that the young woman is healthy.
The knee injury forced her to miss all but 8 games last season. Final half minute of play here in South Bend. And what we expected to be a far, far closer game than what we got. And you know, that's the prevailing thought inside the building as well. They expected a lot more. Notre Dame did lose a key player, one of their starters, a #2 scorer, and Brianna Turner, to a shoulder injury. But the bigger story was Morgan Tuck and Kia Stokes having 2 of the best games of their lives. That's the final. UConn wins easy. Gino Auriemma over Muffin McGraw, 76-56. The final score here today. UConn's 8th straight win against the top 5 opponent. Stanford was #6 when Stanford knocked off the Huskies earlier this season in Northern California. Great win for Stokes with 18 rebounds, and for Morgan Tuck, 25 points, and just missing a double-double with 9 rebounds today. And they were both superb defensively, as was Mariah Jefferson, one of fouling out in the game. There's Gino chatting up Jewell Loyd, who did everything she could individually, certainly, with 31 points to tie a career high. But as we mentioned several times, we kept waiting for someone to come with her, be it Michaela Mabry or Lindsey Allen or somebody else, and nobody did in the end. And it wound up being a very impressive win for the Huskies, who are now 6-1 on the season. Notre Dame losing for the first time as they drop to 8-1. So the fans are filing out into the chill here in South Bend, very unhappy. Winds up being a blowout victory UConn winning 76-58. And Doris is with Gino Auriemma.
You could probably point to any number of players who did a heck of a job. The defense by Nurse and Jefferson on Jewel Lloyd. But let's begin with Morgan Tuck. I mean, what's it like to see that kid healthy for the first time in a while?
You know, we didn't have her, obviously, for long stretches last year. And it's hard to explain how good she is. And not just that, you know, I don't know what she's great at, and I say this about her all the time, but she seems to be pretty good at just about everything, you know, and she makes a big three there, you know, to kind of stop a run. And she just is a really good basketball player who does a lot for us. And I can't say enough about her. We're really fortunate to have her, that's for sure.
You moved some pieces around in the aftermath of the Stanford game. You put Nurse in the starting lineup. Stokes comes off the bench. What did you think of the effort Kia Stokes gave you today?
You know, I wish I could figure Kia Stokes out. Just when I think she's not going to give us anything, she gives us a game like she gave us tonight. She was incredible. And she played with confidence, you know, like she played like I belong here and I'm good and I know what I'm doing. And maybe this is the start of something. I haven't been able to get through to her, so maybe the Irish got through to her. You're Irish, what the hell, you know.
I have no answers either. A year ago, you had Stephanie Dolson, Bria Hartley, two players who had been so integral. How much different is coaching this team for you personally? How much different is coaching this team?
Oh, it's way different. It's way different. You see, our offense is kind of like touch and go, you know. We have to get a lot off our transition. Our half-court offense is just okay, and last year was great. You can't replace somebody like that. But little by little, you know, we're going to have to find our way. We'll have to find an identity for this team. You know, we beat a really, really good team, and I know they didn't have a really good freshman. You know, Brianna Turner is going to be a heck of a player. So we just beat a really good team on the road. So it's December 6th, so I don't want everybody jumping up and down and thinking this was a national championship game. They're going to get a lot better. We're going to get a lot better, but I'm pretty happy right now.
Congratulations.
Right.
Dave.
Smile says it all for Gino Auriemma as the Huskies knock off Notre Dame on the road easily, 76-58. Coming up, we have men's college basketball in Tucson, Gonzaga, and Arizona. For Doris Burke, I'm Dave O'Brien. Right now, back to the studio and an update with our man, Steve Weissman. Steve?
You're the man, OB. We are about 6 minutes from tip. Brandon Ashley, Arizona, they beat Gonzaga in the round of 32 back on March 23rd by 23 points. Can the Zags get their revenge today? Top 10 matchup coming for you next year on ESPN. We are leading up to that. Welcome into our studio, Steve Weissman alongside Kara Lawson. And the last two times UConn had gone to Notre Dame, Kara, they took care of business. They lost those games in overtime, but this time it was a different situation for Gino and company. They were able to come back in that first half and then just dominated the rest of the way.
Notre Dame shot off to a terrific start behind their All-American Jewel Lloyd, and Jewel Lloyd played a terrific game on the offensive end. But you look at what UConn was able to do defensively for the last 30 minutes of the game. Huge area of improvement from a month ago in that loss against Stanford. How sound they were on the defensive end of the floor. Again, you don't have to have 5 great individual defenders on a team, but what you have to have on the defensive end is synergy, understanding who needs to go where and who you need to key on. They keyed on Jewel Lloyd, and Notre Dame didn't have an answer. They didn't have another player that could step up and make plays.
And they didn't have Brianna Turner, who missed this game with the shoulder injury. Tough for her. We talk about all the big names, Kara, Brianna Stewart and Kalina Mosqueda-Lewis and Jewel Lloyd, who had a fantastic game with 31 points. But Morgan Tuck really stepped up for UConn today.
Yeah, she did. I mean, her experience shone through. This is a player that's been in the UConn program. This is her 3rd year, but she's just a redshirt sophomore. But you heard it from Gino right there. She does a little bit of everything for this team, but I think her most impactful attribute is her poise, how calm she is. She's a player that they can move around to different spots, but she doesn't get rattled. So necessary in a road environment like this. Morgan Tuck really calmed this team down, and UConn had a player with all the attention going to Brianna Stewart for UConn. They had a player who could step up and make plays. Morgan Tuck did that, and that's what Notre Dame didn't have.
Kia Stokes did it as well. Tomorrow, a big game. How about this? The #1 team in all the land, South Carolina, in